Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Uh, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session. I hope you are able to see me and my presentation here. Welcome, everybody. And this is a session, and this is a webinar on the CAT 2021 preparation process. What should you do? And the path to 99 percentile in CAT 2001 to 2021. Not very difficult to get there, given the time you have. But of course, you'll have to utilize your time. And you're with me, Arun Sharma. A brief introduction of myself. I'm the CEO at Mindworks. You can visit us at www.mindworks.in. And I am an IIM Bangalore alumnus. I was at the IIM Bangalore 93-95 batch. And that was actually getting into IIM Bangalore was actually my first brush at CAT. I gave CAT 1992 for my first attempt to get into IIM Bangalore myself. And then after passing out in 95, I started preparing people for the exam in early 96. And the reason I started taking the CAT again was that at that time the CAT paper would not be available. So when I was teaching people in 96 here, my only experience of CAT was 4 years ago. And CAT is an exam that changes every year. And they would not give out the test papers at that time. So CAT 1996, 97, you'll not get the test papers out from anywhere because those papers are not available in the public domain at all. So the only way you could actually check the paper was actually go into the test and do it. And that's the reason I started taking it. And then it kind of became a habit. And more or less every time I've taken the exam, I've taken it 20 times from 92 to 2019. And every time I've taken the exam, there's been a solid reason why I've done it. And these have been my last 4-5 percentiles, with several hundred percentiles in data interpretation and quantitative aptitude that I've got. And of course, you must be knowing me from my books, which are some of the highest selling books across the country in all categories. So this is where we bring this session for you, and welcome everybody to the Mindworks uh, uh, ecosystem of CAT preparation. So of course, when you're starting to prepare for the CAT, you're trying to look for how do I get to a 99 percentile, and what is the 99 percentile story. So this is the first thing I wanted to start off from. That I mean, when you start your preparation for an exam like the CAT, you have a specific thought. There are two alternate thoughts that you have. One is, what score or what percentile do you think you should get no matter what? Or what percentile do you think should be easy to get for a person like you, right? And the second part of it is, what percentile do you want to get? Or what percentile is your aspiration percentile? So when you're talking about the CAT journey, essentially it is always from where you are to where you want to be. So can I hear some numbers from you? What is your current number? What is the number you think should be I mean, you have an idea about the CAT. You obviously are thinking about the CAT, so you must have a number कि इतना तो मेरे को आ जाना चाहिए. This much I should be able to score. And then what is your number that you really want to get? So can I get Some thoughts from your side about this? So Apurva says 70 is something I can easily get. I want to get to 95, right? What about others? Numbers that you look for. Mahima says I want to get 85 plus. Anybody else would like to comment there? So Prajwal says you want to get 98 plus. Tawfiq says 75 to 98. Sahil says following my books. Thanks for that, Sahil. 75. You assume that you'll get 75. You're trying to get 95 plus. Kaneha talks about CAT 19. Yeah, comments are visible to me. Rashik, CAT 19, you had 100 marks. So how much percentile was that? So 80 to 95. These are the various stories, right? So most of you believe 91, 100 marks per 91. Tha. So most of you believe that you should be able to get somewhere in the 70-80 range, right? This is you where you believe you should be, and you should be able to reach this point. And this is the question mark that you have: can I reach this point, right? So what is the story score-wise? As Kanaya said, I've just closed that chat box for some time now. I'll come back to the chats after some time. As Kanaya said, 100 marks in CAT 19 got him 91 percentile. While for, I mean, if you basically look at the numbers, if you get between 70 to 80 marks, broadly you will end up getting 70 to 80 percentile in the CAT. And if you get 120 marks, if you can score 120 plus marks, you'll get to 95 plus percentile. And if you can get to 140 marks, you'll be able to score 98 percentile. And 160 plus will get you to 99. People like me score my 99.99s, etc. because my score would be in the 225 to 30 range, score-wise. So when you talk about your I'm here to there story, essentially it can be looked at from a factor that you think that you can get to this point easily, or you should not, you don't have much doubt on your ability to get here, but you are doubting your ability to get maybe to this point. So what is the journey here? If you're getting 80 marks in the CAT exam, as you know, the CAT exam is approximately is essentially 3 sections: QA, verbal, and data interpretation and logical reasoning. So CAT exam is 3 sections. A story of 80 marks is essentially getting around 25 marks, 25 to 30 marks in all these 3 sections. To do, and essentially you understand one thing, that how much marks you get. I mean, 100 questions, the paper has 3 marks per question. So total paper is 300 questions. How much percentile you get essentially depend on only 2 things. One is how many you attempt, how much score you get. The percentile depends on your score, right? And your score depends on 2 things: how many you attempt and how many you get correct. So you have to increase, I mean, when you prepare, you have to improve the speed at which you attempt, and you have to work on improving your accuracy. These are the only things you control. You don't control percentile, you don't control score. You control how many you can attempt and how many you can get accurate. And if you control this, you automatically control this, and you automatically control this. So the focus of your preparation has to be to control this, not controlling your percentile, not controlling your score. Because one of the principles of life is that you should focus on controlling your controllables, only controlling your controllables. Focus extensively on controlling your controllables. So coming back, so attempts accuracy is what you look at. So what is the story that gets you to 80? Suppose you have a 10 to 15% error percentage. You're doing 85% accurate in your attempts and 15% errors. So to get something like 25 marks, and the VRC section has 34 questions, the DILR section has 32 questions, and the QA section has 34 questions. So approximately 12 attempts with 2 incorrects will get you to the 25-30 range. So if you say that I'm in the 25-30 range in all three, you would roughly hit your score of 80. And this is where you think that you can easily reach. Now what are you doing? You're doing 12 attempts in 1 hour. You're doing 12 attempts in 1 hour, right? On a section. Now the story for 99 percentile or for 95 percentile or for 91 percentile is to get to 100 marks. And 100 marks, the average is 33, 33, 33. So if we say that one of your jumps is from 70 to 80, one of your jumps is from 70 to 80 to 91. One of your jumps is this, 70 to 80 to 91. The jump in terms of attempts and accuracy is essentially just a matter of maybe your story was 12 attempts with 2 incorrects. If you can build your story as 14 attempts with 2 mistakes in a 1 hour framework, remember, in 1 hour overall, if you can get to 14 attempts with 2 mistakes, you get to this story. And you're suddenly in business because one more jump of 20 marks, you get to 120 and you hit the 95-96 percentile band, which a lot of people feel is so difficult to get. And the story for 120 is 40 40 40. 40 marks on average in each subject. Of course, it can vary. You can have 50 here and you can have 30 here, but the average is 40 40 40. And for an average of 40 40 40, you need around 17 attempts with 3 mistakes in 1 hour. And if your journey is still 95 96, this is the journey you have to do. From where you are, you yourself admitted that this is something you feel you can get in the exam. Getting to this point requires, and you're feeling maybe you're not very prepared right now because you're just starting off for CAT 21. But you can think about it this way, that what do people who have tried CAT before you get? What did your brother get? What did your cousin get? What kind of score you think is easily gettable? कि उसको तो आ रहा था, मेरे को भी आ जाएगा उतना. So the journey is just about 5 more questions. If the journey was from 0 to 17, I would say it's a tough journey. But the journey is from 12 to 17. And you continue this journey one step further. You continue this journey one step further. And you get to 48, 48, 48 average. which essentially requires 20-21 attempts with 3 or 4 mistakes, you are at the 98-99 range. You are at the 98-99 band. Because 99 starts getting hit at around 150, 155. So at any point in time when you're preparing for an exam like this, you're just working for adding 2 attempts to your current abilities. और CAT में attempt कैसे add होता है? Let me show you starting with cons. I'll give you a question. The question was this. This is a CAT question. That a boy started adding consecutive natural numbers from 1. And after some time, he reached a total of 1000. And he realized that he has made one mistake. The mistake of double counting one number. So what is the number double counted? He has double counted one number. What's that number? Can you think about this? Just try to think about this. My first contention is that most people who prepare on the wrong patterns for the CAT. And which is why they end up saying that the exam is tough. So just think about this. I'm going to show you why the cons is very controllable in the CAT, because it's quite demonstrative, and that's why I'm starting from this. Of course, I'll come to the other sections also in the duration of the webinar today. I'm just giving you a couple of minutes for this. Just think about this question and try to give me an answer to this question. Yeah. The question is that a boy started adding consecutive natural numbers starting from 1, and after some time he reaches a total of 1000, and he realizes he double counted one number. Find that number. So some of you are giving me the correct answer. Nihal has given me the answer. Kanhaiya has given me the answer. Archie has given me the answer, and Prajwal has given me the answer of 10. The correct answer is 10. How do you get there? So there are two methods to get there. The first method to get there is that if you start adding 1 plus 2 plus 3, and the contention, why am I talking about this question in a 1-hour webinar on CAT, is that when you talk about QA, there are four areas that you prepare for in CAT, although there are three sections. You prepare for QA, DI, and LR. And in each of these three areas, and I call these as part of your solving areas. These are your solving areas. So in each of these three areas, the CAT and all aptitude exams have something that I call as reparative logic. So reparative logic is the basic theme of every CAT question, of every CAT set in data interpretation or logical reasoning, and it's very simple. When you come to a question in the exam, the best reaction to a question, or the most powerful reaction to the question that you need inside the exam, and that is what you create through your preparation, is I know this logic. If you have that inside your head, the solving of the question becomes much easier. I mean, there are essentially four reactions to a question in the exam. When you start taking a mock test and you take your exam, when the question comes on in front of you on the screen, you can have four different reactions to the question. The first reaction is that I know the question. ये question तो मैं जानता हूं because ये question मैं कर चुका हूं. I've done this question. The second reaction is I know the logic. I don't know this question, but I know the logic, or I know similar logic. Now, of these two reactions, obviously, I know the question is a much better reaction. But when you talk about working for CAT, you can't work for that. इस reaction के लिए तुम काम नहीं कर सकते हो कि यही वाला question आएगा. You can't organize your work around this. What you organize your work around this is, and when you enter a chapter, what you organize your work around is that you work on understanding and identifying all the logics that are used inside questions in that chapter. And once you do that, this automatically gets populated. What is the third reaction? The third reaction is I know the concept, so I can try. And this is true for all three of QA, DI, and LR. I know the concept, so I can try. And the fourth reaction is I have no idea. There are only four ways you can react to a question when it comes in front of you in the exam. Only four ways that you can react to a question when it comes in front of you in the exam. And the moment you start populating this, the most dangerous of this is this one, because what trial does inside a mock test paper and inside an exam is that it messes up with your timing, and it takes up the times of other questions. So that's why most people who end up at 70-80 percentile, their story is they solve 12, get two incorrect out of 24 questions that they could see. They could not see the other 10 questions at all. Why could they not see the other 10 questions? Because these 24 questions involve a lot of trying for them. And when they tried a lot, when they tried, this 24 questions consumed the entire time. So all I have to tell them, or all I have to teach such people, is how to read 30 questions. If you can read 30 questions, you'll automatically do 15. Because your hit rate is 1 in 2 questions you're able to solve. If you can get to 34 questions, you can get to 17. And this is the story which we are talking about. This is the story from a 75 percentile to a 97-98 percentile, as I just showed you. There's no doubts on the numbers I showed you, right? And when you prepare for the exam, when you prepare for the three solving areas of the CAT, I don't call English a solving area. I'll come to language preparation towards the end of the webinar. When you talk about the three solving areas of the CAT, whether you're talking about quants, your DI or LR, always remember that in your preparation process, CAT 21 में जितने questions आने वाले हैं और जितने logics use होने वाले हैं, all those questions and the logics, all the questions and the logics are available in questions in your ecosystem. The questions you have in your ecosystem, which includes my books, which includes study material from different institutes, which includes tests of different places. We also have something called the Arun Sharma CAT challenge, which we give. So all that is available in the ecosystem around you. Every question of CAT 21, every logic of CAT 21 is available in that ecosystem, because the CAT cannot set new questions, because every chapter has been mapped by so many people. So when I write a chapter like time, speed, distance, I try to map all the possible kind of questions that are there in that chapter. Every possible question I try to map that is there in that chapter. And if I've mapped it properly, then when you go and you identify the logic behind every question and you are thorough with what you do inside the exam, you will be the king, because the exam can't hurt you, because every question you see will fall into this category for you. So that's what I want to show you. How does knowing a logic help you? So as I said, there are two ways to do it. This question, the question was, when you add consecutive natural numbers from 1 to 4, etc., you will not reach a total of 1000, because 1000 will not come in the total. Suppose I say that somebody added 1, 2, 3, 4 up to some number and got a total of 32. And then he realized that one number was double counted. He then realized that one number was double counted, and you were asked to find the double counted number. So the way you will do it is, if you start adding 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, at this point your total is 10. And from this point, 32 is not achievable with a double count, because the double count you'll do will only be of one of the already counted numbers. You can't double count 22 here. अगर तुम 4 तक पहुंचे हो तो प्लस 22 तुम नहीं कर सकते हो. तुम्हारे पास +1, +2 या +3 या +4 ही है, according to the double counted logic. A double counted number can only be one which is counted once earlier. So from here you can't reach 32. From here, can you reach 32? You are at 15. From 15 to 32 you need a +17. It's not possible. +6. Can you reach 32? 21 to 32 you need a +11. It's not possible. You only reach 6. So +7, you are at 28. And you can see that from 28 to 32 there's a double count of +4. And in this question, if I had given you this question with 32 as the total instead of 1000, you would be able to identify +4 as the double counted number. Right? You'd be able to identify +4 as the double counted number. And you realize that if you cross 32 and you go to +8 and get 36, then the double counting to get to 32 opportunity is lost. Because if this is the correct answer for +8, till +8, which it is, then if you double count one number, so your answer, your outcome will be more than 36, not less than 36. You can't come back to 32. So what you should realize in this question when you're doing it for the first time, is that this value is a unique value that you reach from. Only from this value can the double counted number be identified. And this value, I mean, these numbers 10, 1, when you do 1 plus 2 plus 2, 3 plus 4 and get a value of 10, we call it a triangular number. So how do you get to that point of which number? I mean, the problem is that when you are talking about 1000 instead of 32, अगर 32 करना है तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लॉजिक से ऐड कर लो, 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 7 तक ही ऐड करना है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. But when you want to get to 1000, this is a long count, right? And that's the problem. So some people resort to the n into n plus 1 by 2 formula here, which is the sum of the first n natural numbers. Now I'm not teaching you maths here today, so I could have shown you how to do this through this, but I would explain a very much simpler method to you, which is what I can explain to a 6th standard child. If I have to explain this question to a 6th standard child, my explanation would be this. When you add 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 up to 10, your total is 55. This is a fixed thing. It's been fixed for the last 10,000 years. It is going to remain fixed for the next 10,000 years. The total of 1 to 10 is 55. And if 1 to 10 is 55, what would be the total of 11 to 20? So you can see that in this box, there are again 10 numbers. And from the previous box, each of them is plus 10. 2 to 12, there's a plus 10. 3 to 13, there's a plus 10. So effectively, you can write this 11 plus 12 plus 13 as 1 plus 10 plus 2 plus 10. You can visualize it this way. You don't need to write all this. Up to 10 plus 10. Which means that the sum of 1 to 10 will be repeated here. 55 plus 10 times 10, which is 100. So the total of this is 155. So if I want to add my target is to get to a number close to 1000, which is the logic of the question, and on the lower side of 1000. So if you add these two numbers, you get to 210. And then if you do 21 to 30, you realize that this must be 255. And 31 to 40, you realize this must be 355. So if you add all this, you realize that 1 to 40, the addition of 1 to 40 is the addition of 55, 155, 255 and 355. And the value you're getting at this point is 820. And from 820, you can simply do a plus 41, a plus 42. You get to 903. Your target, remember, is to get to a number close to 1000 on the lower side. You do a plus 43, you get 946. And you get a plus 44, you get to 990. And the number is 10. That's the logic. And this logic remains constant throughout. It's been constant for the last 1000 years. It will remain constant for the next 10,000 years. That the sum of 1 to 10 in our number system is 55 and 11 to 20 is 155. All you have to do is pull this logic out from your mind. If you had seen this beforehand, pull this logic out from your mind, and then it's a matter of adding 8 numbers. Which, if you have worked on your calculations, should not be more than 5-7 seconds. And that's one of the aspects of the 99 percentile story, especially in quants and DI. When you go into the quants and DI section, when you're solving 60 minutes quants, most people, and this is what I tell my students, and we help them achieve this at Mindworks, most people in 60 minutes will calculate for 20 to 25 minutes. The calculation time, net calculation time, and all the questions they solve will be around 20 to 25 minutes. And if you can give you a process, which you'll of course have to work on it, काम तो तुमको करना पड़ेगा if you come into Mindworks. It's not that we'll do the work for you. If you give you a process to increase your calculation time 5 times, calculation speed 5 times, What you do in 20-25 minutes, you'll do in around 4 to 5 minutes. It's possible in a 1 year framework. So why did I show you this question? Have a look at the next question. This question was CAT 2001, the one I just showed you. And CAT 2002 asked this question, where they said somebody is adding 1 plus 2 plus 3, and he reaches a total of 575, and he realizes that he's wrong because he's missed a number. Now, can you tell me what the missed number is? And knowing the previous logic, how much does it help you in solving this question? Just feel that. Just feel that. Just feel the difference between the way you were solving the previous question. Some of you knew the answer. I mean, normally I don't get a solution this quick from people if they have not solved the question on this. So some of you, I would think, knew the answer. You had solved the question earlier. But for those of you who did not have the question, had not solved the question earlier, it's just a matter of adding correctly. Do you feel it? Do you feel the difference between the way you were solving the previous one and the way you're solving this one? Yes or no? Yeah, if you get your calculations right, your answer is going to be 20. Because you will just do this step. 55 plus 155 plus 255, which is 465. And to that, you're going to add, that's 1 to 30. So plus 31. Now, missed number में तुमको जो correct answer है, उससे ऊपर जाना पड़ेगा, because this value, when this value is double counted, this was an overestimation of the answer. So you have to go to the number below that. When this is a missed number, this is an underestimation of the answer. When you're doing this thing, this is an underestimation of the answer, so you have to go above 575. So if you just do this, 496, you get to 528 at this point, plus 33, 561, and plus 34, 595. So do you see the difference in the smoothness of the solution? Yes or no? Tell me. Smoothness दिख रहा है? What has happened? What has happened? You have moved by what I showed you. Your mind has moved for the question from I can try to I know the logic. So you found the first question tough to do. The right answer was 20, Palak, in this question. You found the first question difficult to do, but all of you found the second question easy to do, because you had done something like that and you had understood a logic which I had inserted into your mind. So when you're talking about the quants prep process, it's about 2000 logics. Upper limit, you'll not even have 2000 logics. Actually 400-500 logic ka game hai quants. 400-500 logics, 20-25 reparative logics every chapter, which are critical. Those have to be inserted into your mind. Nupur, you can answer your questions here. I can read what you're writing. Right. For seriousness of the class, we keep the chats hidden from the students as part of Mindworks. So at Mindworks, we have two kinds of classes. One is these webinar classes, and the other is the Zoom sessions. Zooms we do interactive sessions, so you can also talk, and you can this thing. Yeah, there'll be a question answer session towards the end, Kaustav. I'll come to question answer this thing. So we just moved you from I can try to I know the logic, and you could see how different this is. And if you get this, and if you prepare properly for a year on the CAT, your population of questions will be higher here, and you will reduce the population of this. As I told you, this is the most dangerous reaction inside the CAT exam. And if you eliminate this, the problem is why people can't eliminate it is because if this is not populated, इसका population अगर low है, इसका population अगर low है, तो तुम्हारे corrects भी यहीं से आएंगे. तो try ही नहीं करोगे तो क्या होगा? Corrects आएंगे ही नहीं. So people are forced to react this way in the exam because their preparation is not this thing. And I'll tell you, every question that comes in your CAT 21 exam, every question in the CAT 21 exam would have been mapped by at least 30 to 50 questions in your preparation ecosystem. And that's what we try to do in my this thing. Only one thing that we need to be very careful about, one thing that you need to be careful about is that you need to be careful about only doing relevant questions. So at Mindworks, what we do is we make sure that you only get curated relevant questions ka structure. Why this is important is because agar tum bekar ke question solve karo, and there's lot of useless stuff going around in CAT prep circles, especially these teachers and Facebook and WhatsApp groups that are running. They don't, a lot of them don't understand the CAT, and they try to bring in mathematical content into the CAT. CAT is not mathematical. So it is logical. It's completely logical. You can teach almost every CAT question of the last 20 years to an 8th, 9th standard student. He does not need to have done maths of 12th. He should be logical, and he should have knowledge that a 9th or maybe a 10th class student should have. Everything in CAT, in quants, GI, and LR can be taught to a logical 10th standard student. And why I keep telling you this, just look at the evidence. I'll show you one more thing. ये क्वेश्चन को देखो. Apurva is asking for someone who started a week ago. Is there hope? I'll talk about timelines. You have enough timelines for preparation. Look at this question, and then look at this question. The reaction to the first statement in this question, in this one, is ABC can run a race with runner A finishing 12 meters ahead of runner B. So ABC start a race, and runner A finishes 12 meters ahead of runner B. This is 12, and 18 meters ahead of runner C. So that means this is 6. This is reaction 1 in the question, in this question. Reaction 1 in this question is a race of 3 horses, and you realize that the distance of the race is not given to you. In this question, the reaction to the first statement is, and please notice, we are talking about movement from all the way from CAT 2001 to CAT 2019. and see how static the exam is. So somebody must have been solving this question in CAT 2001, and somebody must have been solving this question in CAT 2019. And what would this guy have done 18 years ago? And what would this guy have done 18 years later? In a race of 3 horses, the first beats the second by 11 meters and the third by 90 meters. So if I talk about ABC again, the first beats the second by 11 meters and the first beats the third by 90 meters. So this is 79 and the distance is unknown. Can you see the ditto-ness of the two questions? 19 years later, the cat has not changed at all. It's asking exactly the same thing. And this is why I tell you that if you populate your logics, your questions, I know the question will start getting populated automatically. All you have to do is find the right curated question bank. उसमें बेकार के क्वेश्चन नहीं होने चाहिए, because otherwise you are wasting your time. और बहुत सारे बेकार के क्वेश्चन, दो तरह के बेकार के क्वेश्चन आते हैं in your CAT journey, which you will come across if you don't curate your question banks correctly. One is the kind of questions in which the language is very poor. So a lot of maths trainers, they write questions and they are not very good at English, so their articles and prepositions and conjunctions are all misplaced. CAT mein you will see very, very perfect English in every maths question. So that's one problem. And the second problem is that people, I mean, when what they ask you in CAT, if this is maths, this is the part of maths that can be logically done, and this is the part, it of course can also be done through algebraic and mathematical processes, and this is the part of math which is only doable through algebra and maths, not through logic. CAT never ventures into this side. तुम 20 साल का पेपर उठा के देख लो, I can show you every question of the last 25 years of the CAT. CAT has never, not a single question has ventured to this side. But in your question banks that you get from people, you will see a lot of venturing on this side, and that's a waste of time. So both bad language questions are waste of time, and this venturing into mathematical questions is a waste of time. You're not supposed to be an engineer with heavy algebraic skills, right? And if you keep going ahead, I'm not showing you this full question, but if you keep going ahead, if you see, the second condition is exactly the same about the second beating the third, right? And यहाँ पे second condition दिया हुआ है, runner B finishes 8 meters ahead of runner C. यहाँ पे runner B beats C by 80 meters on the same race. So exactly same condition. So the equations formed are equal. The solution is exactly same. You did not even have to do anything else. I mean, it goes. I mean, the flow chart of this question and the flow chart of this question is ditto. There's not a single change, of course, apart from the calculations. So if you've done a good job with this, you would automatically be ready for this exam. So what should be your timelines? Now, karna ye, this is how your process goes. Pick up the question, the relevant questions, pick up the relevant questions, understand the logic behind it, and build your reactions based on that. And what is the breakdown? The breakdown of your work is in quants. You have to prep in 5 parts. Your preparation has to be in 5 parts. Number systems, progressions. In my books, these are block 1, block 2, 3, block 4, block 5, and block 6. Put them in 5 boxes. And each box has a certain number of questions that you should go through. So I'll give you a broad idea of the total of each block. This block is around 600 to 800 questions. This is around 1200 to 1500 questions that you have to do in this. And good quality questions with good diversity will take care of your understanding and improvement on each of these areas. This is about maybe around 500, 600 questions. This one is about 800 to 1000 questions. And this last one is about around 400 questions. 400 to 500 questions. And extra, it's not just the questions, it's about the extraction of the learning from there. So if you look at your timeline for CAT 21, I will advise you to divide your timeline into a few parts. What parts? Time wise, divide your timeline in quarters first. December, March, June, of course 21, September. And what you should do, I think your first focus in quants, you split your quants focus into two subparts. This is one part of it, 1, 2, 3. And you should take a 3-month framework. By December, I want to be perfect at this. By December, I want to be perfect at this area. So I should have completed this much, around 1800 to 2000 questions. I should have completed by December. And then the next quarter, December to March, you can look at blocks 4, 5, 6, which is another 2000 questions. So if you're talking about 1 month time frame, you're basically doing around 600 questions per month. That's your monthly target. And parallelly, in data interpretation and reasoning, your target should be your target till March for DI. When you talk about data interpretation, DI is split into two parts: traditional DI and logical DI. So your target in traditional DI is around 150 to, and DI is in sets. Whenever you solve data interpretation, it's in sets of questions. So your target in traditional DI is 150 to 200 sets. Your target in logical DI is around 200 sets. So your overall target is around 400 sets. And what you can do, and people ask me कि आजकल तो सिर्फ logical DI आता है, traditional छोड़ दें क्या? That's not right. The traditional DI is the building block for logical DI. Unless you're good at traditional DI, it's not possible that you can handle logical DI questions. It's the base. So you can't ignore traditional DI. ये नहीं कर सकते हो कि सिर्फ logical DI करोगे. This is the base, one. And the second thing is why traditional DI is important is also because CAT still asks you questions on traditional DI. Last year 2019 में 4 set DI के थे each slot में, जिसमें 2 set traditional DI थे और 2 logical थे. There's a 2-2 split, 2 plus 2 split in CAT 2019. And of course ZAT and IFT and other exams are completely traditional DI. So don't this thing. So what you will do is if you're starting a preparation now, so September to December, you will focus on traditional DI. You'll focus on traditional DI. And December to March, I mean, you can start doing some logical DI, but your 80% focus on DI will be on traditional DI and 20% will be on logical DI. And December to March, you split it 50-50. So if you're planning to solve in the next 3 months, if you're planning to solve, let's say, and 3 months, it's easy, 90 days, it's easy to do around 150 to 200 sets overall. 2 sets per day का average चाहिए तुमको. 2 sets per day का average में 100 days में you'll get to 200 sets. So if you do 2 sets per day on average, that means 10-12 sets per week. 12 to 14 sets per week. DI के लिए एक बार 3 घंटा बैठोगे, 2-3 घंटा बैठोगे तो 5-7 सेट ऐसे निकल जाएंगे. So if you spend, so it's just about 5-6 hours, maybe 5 hours of data interpretation every week. That's all you need. right? So if you split your weekly times, 5 hours of data interpretation should be sufficient. Quants, you'll have to give more time. You might need around 20 hours in quants. In quants, you might need around 20 hours. While in verbal, you might want to spend around 15-20 hours every week again. So we're looking at around 45 hours. If you can't give 45 hours, and 5 hours in reasoning. If you can't give 45-50 hours, give 30 hours. अगर तुम्हारा, if you're working and you can only give 30 hours, करो 30 hours करो. तुम्हारा टाइमलाइन थोड़ा एक्सटेंड हो जाएगा. ये मार्च में खत्म होने के बदले मई में खत्म होगा. कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Work तो वही रहेगा ना. Work we can't. We have to define the work and then see what's feasible for us and build that timeline around that. And of course, you can use my books, and at Mindworks we also provide you separate study material for all this, etc. और रीजनिंग का जो प्रिपरेशन है, in CAT you have to basically look at these 4 question types, these 8 question types. When you prepare for CAT, and your target is, again, I mean, puzzles are 4 types: arrangement, selections, rankings, and generic puzzles. And your target basically is 50 sets per week, per chapter, per chapter. So it's basically again around 400 sets of target. And please remember one thing: when you do all this solving, there will be 2 counts that will go parallelly. One is the count of how many sets you have been exposed to, or even in quants, how many questions have you been exposed to, and how many questions have you solved. And the count of number of questions solved will obviously be below the count of number of questions you've been exposed to, because there will be some questions you will not be able to solve. So what is very critical for you is what you do with those questions which you are not able to solve, this gap. This is where your learning is going to happen. So the gap should not be filled by reading solutions or asking people how to solve them. The gap has to be filled by actually going back to these questions in the second round. So what happens is, suppose you pick up the chapter of averages, and you pick up LOD1, LOD2, and LOD3 of averages. So based on your skill level, there will be a certain percentage of questions you'll be able to do at each LOD, and typically the higher LODs you'll do less percentage. So if you can do 80% questions here, you might be able to do only 60% questions here, and you might be able to do only 50% questions here. The issue is not to get discouraged. The issue is go after these remaining 20. Your learning is in these questions. So what you'll do is, if you're going through this in 1 week, let's say week 1 of your preparation, you are doing this for averages. तो week 5, week 6 में तुम उस averages पे जो unsolved questions है उस पे वापस आओगे. That's very important in your process. And then you'll try to process these remaining questions and try to see what happens, and you'll realize that because you have allowed these thoughts that when you practice the first time round, your solving skills would have gone up. So across 4 weeks, there'll definitely be some jump or some embedding of those logics in your head, because you allowed these thoughts to seep into your head. And by the 5th, 6th week, when you come back, you'll be a little better equipped to do this. So maybe some of these questions will get done in the second round. And then you plan a third round after 9 weeks, week 9, week 10. Or that way, you keep reducing the gap. और थर्ड राउंड में भी जो नहीं होता है उसका फिर then you look for solutions or ask people to solve. But at least 3 rounds minimum. मेरे से अगर पूछोगे तो I'll be happy to tell you keep going. Go up to round 5, round 6 before you ask solutions. In a CAT 2021 context, you have the time. मतलब टाइम कितना चाहिए किसी भी टाइम. सपोज यू आर रिविजिटिंग एवरेजेस, फर्स्ट टाइम एवरेजेस में 10, 12, 15 घंटे लगेंगे, सेकंड टाइम रिविजिट में 3 घंटा लगेगा सर. And it's only 20 chapters. Right? So Prashant, you can use my books. So I'm open to questions now. I've talked about what I wanted to. I'm open to questions now. And I've definitely I have to talk about the Mindworks process, what we do, what our process is. Yeah, please go ahead and ask questions. VRC I'll come to VRC. So verbal or reading comprehension, let me just since that is the first question coming up. So I had a slide prepared for verbal also. So verbal mein, what you have to essentially do is essentially there are two parts to verbal preparation. One part is language improvement. The second part is solving improvement. Solving improvement happens when you sit with question types and you start practicing those question types, and then you start analyzing errors and you try to stop repeating errors. But language improvement is obviously the longer game is this. So if you're looking at your timeline and you say that, okay, I'm going to spend 20 hours per week for the next 40 weeks, and I want my outcome in 40 weeks, because if you're planning CAT prep starting from September 2019, 2020 for 21, so 40 weeks will be somewhere around 4 weeks, 4 months before the CAT. So you ideally for all sections you should be ready by July, so that when you go into the test you've got enough time and space to do stuff. So 20 hours per week, 40 weeks, you're going to put 800 hours. So is 800 hours ka split between language development and solving development. इंग्लिश में देखो एक नेचुरल सॉल्विंग तो तुम्हारा जब तुम मॉक टेस्ट एक्सेट्रा में जाओगे तो सॉल्विंग तुम्हारा और बढ़ेगा ही, राइट. So every person who takes CAT has to give, I mean, if you're preparing with enough time, 40 mock tests is my basic number that you should plan to give. So 40 mock tests, 3 hours per mock test. So अगर वर्बल की बात करो तो 40 hours तुम स्पेंड करोगे क्वेश्चन सॉल्विंग में और 40 hours से स्पेंड करोगे क्वेश्चन एनालिसिस में. तो ये 80 hours इसके बाहर है, ये लैंग्वेज इंप्रूवमेंट एंड सॉल्विंग इंप्रूवमेंट के बाहर है. दिस इज द बेसिक वर्क यू आर डूइंग. तो इस 800 hours में योर स्प्लिट शुड बी अराउंड 500 to 600 on this and around 200 to 300 on this. And when you're trying to develop your language, you have to stop. For CAT preparation, you have to stop at the passage level. अगर तुम बुक्स एंड ऑल में जाना चाहते हो तो बुक्स में तब जाओ जब वो बुक्स तुमको वैल्यू ऐड कर रहे हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर प्रोफाइल एंड बायोडाटा. So you can use books and reading as one of the methods through which you develop your profile. So if you read, let's say, one book a week for the next year and one good quality, high quality book per week for the next 1 year, and you include 50 books into your structure, so this will definitely add to your profile. You can go into the exam, into the interview, and talk about this, and that will help you because people will be impressed by this. But please remember that this is additional work you're doing. This is not to compromise these 4 things. So according to me, the key to language development is the sentence. If you can catch hold of sentences, you can catch hold of paragraphs. And if you can catch hold of paragraphs, you can catch hold of passages. The difference between sentence comprehension and paragraph comprehension is paragraph is a composite idea. In any high quality writing, a paragraph is a composite idea, whereas the sentence is the component of the idea. So if you don't understand the component, you don't understand the paragraph. So, and what happens when you go to CAT, why sentence comprehension becomes difficult for people is because when you go into CAT, you'll realize, and you can look at the past papers, you have much longer sentences. Sentences are much longer than normal. Language is much more complex than you will read in a Times of India or even a Hindu. And the topic is twisted. Topics are unfamiliar for most people. So if you work on longer sentence, 35-word sentences, I've seen paragraphs in the CAT which have average sentence length of 35 words. Complexity of language is handled by improving your vocabulary and your this thing. सो वोकैबुलरी पे दो तरह से कर सकते हो, एक एक्टिव वोकैबुलरी काम होता है, दूसरा पैसिव का होता है. एक्टिव वोकैबुलरी इज वेयर यू आर डूइंग वर्ड लिस्ट एक्सेट्रा. पैसिव होता है कि जो तुम रीडिंग कर रहे हो, वॉट एवर रीडिंग यू डू, उस रीडिंग में जो नए वर्ड्स मिल रहे हैं, अननोन वर्ड्स मिल रहे हैं, उसको एक रजिस्टर में डाल दो. उस रजिस्टर को कीप लुकिंग एट इट, एंड व्हाट विल हैपन इज इफ यू कम अक्रॉस this word one in your on your first day, so during your reading across 600 hours, most of it is going to be reading time only of language development. So across 600 hours of language development and reading, you will come across word one at least 5 times, if not more. तो उतने में वर्ड तुम्हारा हो जाएगा. जब पहले बार उस वर्ड को सुनोगे तुम्हारा नहीं होगा वो, तुम उसका मीनिंग याद करोगे तो याद नहीं रहेगा. But if it comes in natural reading for you 5 times during the year, that word becomes yours. That is how you have learned all your words. ठीक है, तुमने तुमने एक रिवर के ऊपर एक ब्रिज जा रहा है. हाउ डिड यू रियलाइज दैट दिस इज अ ब्रिज? व्हेन यू आर 1 year old you did not know that this is called a bridge. तो तुमको कैसे पता चला कि ये ब्रिज है? The experience got repeated. So repetition is key there, right? Traditional DI, Dravya, I'm now going to the other questions. Traditional DI is two parts. ट्रेडिशनल DI में क्या होता है कि डेटा फिक्स्ड होता है और डेटा एक्सट्रैक्शन का काम रहता है. तुमको डेटा दिया हुआ है, तुमको क्वेश्चन जो पूछेगा, I mean ultimately data interpretation basically means that given data से you're supposed to interpret it and bring out information. So traditional DI में डेटा फिक्स्ड रहता है और इंफॉर्मेशन जो क्वेश्चन पूछता है कि इसका वैल्यू बताओ, उसका वैल्यू बताओ, that will depend on some formula. So from the question you have to identify the formula. Suppose your formula is this minus this divided by this, and you want a ratio. You bring your work in traditional DI is to pull those numbers from the data and calculate here. Logical DI क्या होता है कि logical DI में you have to do a lot of molding of the data. The data is itself fluid. There will be missing columns, there will be missing numbers. So there's a lot of logic you have to apply in the data before you can start reading the data. ठीक है, this is Travya's answer. Nupur says, I'm solving all your books. Should I solve it chapter wise parallelly? I'm assuming you're going for CAT 21, Nupur. तो CAT 21 के लिए जा रहे हो तो चैप्टर वाइज बाद में करना. CAT 20 के लिए जा रहे हो तो अभी करना स्टार्ट कर दो. ठीक है. Aditya is asking how are doubts cleared at Mindworks online coaching. So at Mindworks, in my perception, and this is what I tell all my students, doubts are good. Because if you don't have doubts, you are perhaps not solving the right questions. ठीक है. So if you're going for 21, Nupur, your focus should be to do the chapter wise a little bit later. So doubts are always good. Just remember that. Point number one. And doubts need not be resolved immediately. You should stay with the doubts. And this is not something that I say and hence you should listen to me. This is not just something that I say and hence you should listen to me. I mean, if you let me just show you something. And this is something I tell, because this is a philosophy of preparation which I talk about, and I tell people कि मेरी बात मत सुनो, तो इनकी बात तो सुनोगे. It's not that I'm so smart, but I stay with the questions longer, much longer. Who said this? Albert Einstein. So according to me, doubts are good, and as a system, my focus with my students is that आपको doubt हो रहा है, आप doubt को अपने mind में रहने दो थोड़े दिन के लिए. Allow it to remain. That's what I was telling you, that when you solve your first round, ये जो questions नहीं होते हैं तुम्हारे, difference between questions exposed to and questions solved, this is your preparation journey. और इस journey को most people and most institutes compromise as a marketing technique by saying कि तुमको जैसे ही doubt होगा मैं तुमको solve कर दूंगा. It's counterproductive. It's counterintuitive to do that. Because I ask people this question inside the exam. Inside the exam, when I solve, I get my 230. मेरे mind में doubt होता है कि नहीं? When I solve. What do you think? मेरे को सब कुछ ऐसे ही दिख जाता है क्या? Inside the exam. So if you ask me, I'll tell you that every third question I'm in doubt. ये करना है कि ये करना है, क्या बोला हुआ है इसमें? So part of your journey is doubt resolution mechanism, which you have to install in your head. And this can only happen with this. Now that does not mean that we leave you in the lurch. Now at Mindworks, our philosophy is this, that for every chapter in maths, the questions have to be split into questions taught by us, seen by you, and questions that you do. So through the year, we keep increasing the taught number for you. And individual chapters, depending on the level of student, require a different number of how many questions we should teach. But the do should not be compromised, right? And the do process has to be round 1, round 2, round 3. Keep coming back to those questions. Round 4. Keep coming back to those questions until you have that, what I call as the aha moment. तुमको एवरेज में कितना क्वेश्चन करना है? 200-250 क्वेश्चन अगर कर लो एवरेज में, अब ये टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस का क्वेश्चन मैंने दिखाया तुमको. According to my estimate, the 2 questions I showed you on time speed distance, if somebody has solved around 250 questions through this process, कि ये doubts को उसने resolve किया अपने mind में, उसके बारे में बार बार सोचा, और then he got to that aha moment, that moment of realization, okay, this is what I have to do by himself. So then 250 questions are enough. But if you develop a process to solve these questions, if you develop a process where every time you have a doubt, we jump to an answer, which a lot of institutes do for marketing, कि चलो तुमसे जो नहीं solve करेगा मैं तुमको बता दूंगा, मैं तुम्हारा hero हूँ, I am the hero. So on the day of the exam, is the hero going to be with you? Will he be next to you? Will he be next to you? He will not be. So you have to be the hero on the day. So you better become the hero with these questions. अब तुम्हारे पास क्या है कि तुमने बहुत एफर्ट करके ये क्वेश्चन निकाले, 10, 15, 20 घंटे एफर्ट किया, उसके बाद ये क्वेश्चंस तुमको मिले कि ये क्वेश्चन नहीं हो रहे मेरे से, उसको तुम ऐसे ही स्पॉइल कर दोगे? मेरे को आंसर बता दो. अगर ऐसे कैट हो जाता तो बहुत आसान है मेरे लिए. क्या करना है मेरे को? 5,000 क्वेश्चन का कैट का गेम है, तो मैं किसी स्टूडेंट को 5,000 वीडियो दे दूंगा हर क्वेश्चन का बॉक्सेस में, कि ये देखो ये 10 क्वेश्चन एक तरह के हैं, 15 एक तरह के हैं. 5,000 वीडियो दे दूंगा क्वेश्चन के, मैं बोलूंगा सब देख लो और जाओ, कल चले जाओ कैट में चले जाओ. 5,000 वीडियोस, रोज 50 वीडियो देख लोगे तो 100 दिन का खेल है. 100 days में योर प्रिपरेशन विल बी ओवर. Go into CAT, you'll crack it. Won't happen. Because CAT won't happen unless you do a non-compromised do part. But again, as I said, we don't leave the student to his own devices. Ultimately, we know that since it's a long-term journey, so on 15 December 2020, you're preparing for CAT 21. On 15 December 2020, you have a doubt. You're not able to solve it. we have a system where we give Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups. So वहाँ पे we help you each other out. Students also help each other out. We have doubt clearing this thing. Interns who handle those questions for you. But ultimately, bottom line is that we want you to struggle with that doubt. And as a final resolution mechanism, we get all our question banks solved during August, September, October next year. We significantly increase the third one कि चलो बेट बहुत लोग से नहीं हो रहा है तो चलो एटलीस्ट दिखा देते हैं तो कुछ लोग को कुछ याद रह जाएगा तो हो जाएगा. Right? That's the process that we use. So this was the answer to the doubt clearing mechanism. What are the questions are this thing? Yeah, I do the whole quants in the online sessions in Mindworks. The whole quants. I mean, we have a system where individual topics are taught by multiple teachers. So you have my sessions also, and along with that, you also have Mahengraj sir, you have Sunil Sharma sir. Both people have 15-20 years of experience, and you also have Deepak Mishra sir there, and we keep getting new teachers to teach the same thing again and again, so that you get that perspective. So maybe sometimes what happens is एक teacher का process तुमको उतना तुमको नहीं hit किया. He was good for others, but did not hit your mind so well. So मेरा तो पूरा content मिलेगा ही तुमको. Apart from that, you will get multiple teachers teaching you that. That's the system. So fee structures and all, there'll be somebody calling you for the batch starts, etc. As far as you've given your phone numbers, etc., we'll be doing that. Right. So coming back, Palak is asking about offline classes. Not in our hands, Palak. Abhi the next 1 year, 6 months does not look viable. Darshan, for working students, Darshan asked me, is the timetable given by you suitable for working students? Typically, what I see is that the amount of prep, minimum prep, if you're doing something concretely, and even if you're working, you can spend around 20-25 hours per week. And if you're not working, you are sitting at home, you can spend 50 to 60 hours per week on prep, which of course has to be split between English, DI, quants, and verbal. So, as I said, if you're only able to do this much, maybe I'll ask you to stretch to 30. ये तुम्हारा comfortable time है तो ये stretch time होगा तो stretch करो. और दूसरा अपना learning capacities. Typically what I've seen is that because you're working, your learning capacities will be slightly better because you'll belong to people who can learn faster than the average sit at home aspirant. But so in दोनों से तुम इस time को bridge कर सकते हो. And the other aspect is, if that guy is finishing his preparation there, as far as you're consistent, you will also finish your preparation. Simple logic है. मेरे को दिल्ली से लखनऊ जाना है. I have to go from Delhi to Lucknow. I go at 100 kilometers per hour, and you go at 50 kilometers per hour. तो तुम पहुंचोगे कि नहीं पहुंचोगे? Simple logic है. Will you reach or not? The way 100 percentile के लिए you'll have to continue that journey. You'll have to get to 28 attempts, 30 attempts in each section. 90 attempt कर लो with 5-7 mistakes, you'll get 100 percentile. Books, etc. Are separate. You will have to take the books separately. And our Mindworks books are identical actually to my books. We have custom published it. So you have the option of going with the open market books. The advantage of the open market books is that they are continuously revised. Mindworks material is maybe 2018 के books का content. So Mindworks book का advantage है कि they are in shorter modules, more convenient to use. So that's up to you. You can take both. Right? What are the questions? Vernacular language student. So there are always some question which I can't solve. There's no reason why you can't solve a logic question if you're a vernacular this thing. Our batches start on 5th and 20th. Palak. Every month, 5th and 20th, we start new batches. And we have a hybrid model where every day there is some video release for you and some live sessions for you. So the video releases, a lot of the portion we also cover through video releases. So quants mein what I've done, in a lot of chapters I've already done this, and over 21 I'm going to do that for the other chapters. Rather than having 1 2 hour class, what we have done is we have shorter classes of 10 to 15 minutes on every, and if I want to teach for 2 hours on a topic, you will have eight videos of 10 to 15 minutes. उससे एडवांटेज क्या हो जाता है कि 2 आवर्स में अगर मैं तुमको पढ़ा दूं सब कुछ, सपोज मैं परसेंटेज पढ़ा रहा हूँ और परसेंटेज में मेरे को 5-6 कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ाने हैं, तो in a 2 hour class what happens is all the concepts get mixed inside this 2 hours. यहाँ पे क्या है कि कॉन्सेप्ट 1 यहाँ डाला, कॉन्सेप्ट 2 यहाँ डाला, 6 वीडियो बना दिए, and 1 concept in every class. So what happens, and followed by an assignment which you get on the website, plus a test on the concept, a small quiz on the concept. So you can just check whether you understood this concept, whether you solved all the assignments, and whether you have done the tests or not. If these are working, then you can go to the LODs. So I found this a much better way, pedagogy wise, in terms of improving people's maths. Because problem क्या होता है, अगर 2 घंटे का क्लास एक बार हो जाए, we all definitely have those 2 hour classes. The other teachers classes जो होता है वो 2 hour sessions होता है. But the problem in a 2 hour session is that all the concepts get mixed. So if you're not good at a topic, you have got a good mixed concept back at the end of the chapter, and then when you go to LOD 1 straight, there also all the questions are mixed. So you don't have the mapping between the concept and the question. यहाँ पे, since we are breaking the entire concept into sub concepts, and we are giving you questions on assignments and tests both, and this is very personally curated by me. I mean, if you're joining now, let me also tell you very frankly, this model is not completely built right now. It's 50% built for us, but over the next 6 months, ये build होगा. और तुम अभी join करोगे तो you're going to get access till to all the courses and all the content till March 2022. So you will definitely have 100% structure built by that time. Mock tests cost of show should be around what May June. You should start May June, your mock tests in May June approximately. ठीक है. Amaya was asking, is it possible to score cover entire syllabus and score 99 percentile? Yes, people do it, so it is possible, but there are certain conditions for it: how good you are currently, how fast you move, and those things. Yeah, the video will be available. It will be available on a YouTube channel. We have the YouTube channel Arun Sharma Mindworks. Older editions, Pranav, if you've got older editions, which ones do you have depends on that. So if you have very old editions, it might not work, but अगर quants में 8th edition for example, या 6th है, तो 6th से 8th में difference काफी रहेगा. So 2 editions behind if you are, then you should go. DI and LR you should have. LR, the latest edition, is the 5th one. Significant change from the 4th edition. 3rd से 4th में उतना change नहीं था, लेकिन 4th से 5th there's significant change. DI का तो पूरा recasting हो गया. DI 5 and DI 6. These 2 books you will not recognize as the same book. So 6th edition DI you should have. DI won't do with older editions. Darshan's question: when should I leave my job? Depends on this thing. 95 percentile पहुंचने के लिए 70th percentile पहुंचे हो अभी, you actually don't need to leave your job. You can actually do both, but अगर करना है तो maybe around 6 months before the CAD you can miss it. Yes, Akhil, it will be available on YouTube. Right. So Siddesh is asking what is the batch strength. So at Mindworks what we do is we have got a rolling group. So we intake new students every 5th and 20th. The live classes that are there are built on 3 modules: basic, booster, and advanced. They are built on 3 modules: basic, booster, and advanced. So what happens is, and along with that, we have got the video releases for your batch. So video releases are completely batch specific. तो तुम्हारे बैच के हिसाब से तुमको वीडियोस मिलते जाएंगे. वीक 1 में कौन से वीडियोस देखने हैं तुमको, वीक 2 में कौन से देखने हैं, वो ऑटोमेटिकली तुमको एवरी वीक based on the curated structure of how you should work, we do that. And these then are additional facilities. A lot of people prefer being live with a teacher, so we keep doing these short modules. Each module is between 6 to 12 hours, and they keep happening in a circular fashion. So based on what is relevant to you, अब जैसे suppose we are doing a booster, an advanced on permutation combination, and you are starting a batch right now on 20th of September. So obviously this module at the live context currently is not relevant for you. But 4 months later, something like this will be very relevant for you. So we keep doing that. Right? Yeah, 70 to 85 is definitely possible, Mahima. नितिन 2017 ग्रेजुएट किए हो, कुछ स्टोरी बताना पड़ेगा कि 3 साल से क्या कर रहे थे. You'll have to talk about something, and I think you have a story. You had some startup and all, I believe, since I know you. So वो story will be good enough. It is possible, definitely, Nitin. So typically lecture classes versus time per week, I suggest a 1:2 ratio, 1:3 ratio of watch to do. So 8 to 10 hours you should attend or watch in a week. Maybe if you're 30 weeks, you should limit it to 8 to 10 hours of watch and around 30 hours of do. Of course, in your initial days you might watch more because you have a lot of portion to cover it. So initial days this ratio can even be 1:1. So it can be 20-20, but gradually it has to shift to this, right? Work experience considered अगर है तो company very important से ज़्यादा work is important. क्या काम कर रहे थे? So that is important because they look at where you're heading to and what kind of experience you have and what you bring into the batch. That is also something that they look at. ठीक है Akhil, I told you, I answered your question. It will be available on YouTube. Any other questions? Manasi, CAT 20 के लिए strategy has to be immediately try to finish off as quickly as possible. Percentage of live classes, we have around 20 hours plus of live class every week. So you'll have at least 15 classes, and these are all modular. And then there are Zoom sessions which are mentoring, etc. And the other thing that I do is every student of Mindworks has my personal number, and we have got a missed call philosophy. You want to talk to me, just leave a missed call. I call back everybody, every student who's with us. So the mentoring does happen on that front. राइट तुमको कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछना है, सर मैं ये प्लान कर रहा हूँ इस वीक, आपको कुछ और सजेस्ट करना है, गिव मी अ मिस कॉल, आई विल कॉल यू बैक. So college and Pranav is asking how do I manage college and this thing. So define how many times you want to sit for your college work in a week, and how many times you want to sit for your CAT work in a week. So if you define a sit down session as a 2 hour session, तो अगर तुम 50 घंटे every week positive काम पे दे रहे हो, self काम पे, apart from maybe 10, 15, 20 hours of this thing of your college attendance. So maybe you want to sit 15 hours, 15 times for CAT, and you want to sit 10 times for your graduation. And when you're sitting for your graduation, you're only focused on that. When you're sitting for your CAT study session, you're only focused on that. No, pre-MBA CAT, pre-MBA work, Darshan is asking, does pre-MBA work define your CAT placement? Thereby can be, it depends on whether you want to use it or not. So if you have got pre-MBA work, some people want to say, okay, this is an industry I like, तो मेरे को इसी में आगे बढ़ना है. So you do an MBA, then you get a jump in that same career. Some other people might say, I worked in this field, but it's not exciting. So I want to just crash that and I want to see this thing. So then you'll be considered a fresher. अगर तुम प्री-एमबीए वर्क को यूज कर रहे हो तो यू विल बी कंसिडर्ड समबडी हु इज एक्सपीरियंस्ड इन दैट फील्ड. तुमने 3 साल फार्मा कंपनी में काम किया है, उसके बाद तुम एमबीए करते हो, देन यू वांट टू गो बैक टू अ फार्मा कंपनी, यू विल गेट अ जंप टू मिडिल मैनेजमेंट डायरेक्टली. और अगर तुम 2 साल फार्मा कंपनी में काम किए हो और उसके बाद तुम 2 साल एमबीए करते हो, एंड देन यू कम बैक, go to an B school and say, no, I want to be in totally unrelated field. I want to go into digital marketing. तो फिर वो 2 साल का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं काउंट करेंगे. They'll look at you as maybe 6 months. You'll have to lose a year of experience approximately. Yes, engineering students can move towards finance because engineering students typically have good quant skills, so they can move towards finance. So for CAT per week, Suhrudeep, I've answered that, 30 to 50. Nitin wants to speak, so I'll just unmute Nitin here. Nitin is, by the way, our student also. Yeah, Nitin, you can speak. Nitin wants to talk about his experience at Mindworks.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Nitin. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, thank you, sir, for allowing me to speak. No, I mean the thought, crossed my mind. Like since you were saying, you were trying to explain how this Mindworks system works. Na, so I thought, let me just. I mean, it was. I didn't really believe that you will allow me to speak. Okay. So first of all, to the students, I'll say that we have sir has a very holistic approach, and he like we have got 3-4 teachers per subject, and some people will think that, oh, why many teachers are teaching the same topic, but after studying here, I've realized that it actually there is a very there's a silver lining to this. Like sir has really thought about it, and sometimes when we get we have heard a lot about one question should be solved by many ways and many approaches. So actually when we see same topic taught by two teachers, it opens up a very a deep understanding. And पहले तो मेरे को लगता था क्योंकि ये तो मतलब कैसे है इसका, बट आफ्टर 2 months मेरे को रियलाइज हुआ क्योंकि मेरे स्कोर्स बहुत ज्यादा इंप्रूव हुए. ऐसे ऐसे टॉपिक्स जो मैं कभी कर भी नहीं सकता था, आई वाज एबल टू डू इट. एंड देन उसके बाद से मैंने ऐसे सोचा कि अब अरुण सर जो कहते हैं मैं वही करूंगा. मतलब ये अपना मैंने दिमाग लगाना छोड़ दिया है. एंड लाइक ही सेड, आई जस्ट हैव टू मेक श्योर ऑफ द डू पार्ट. एंड मुझे बहुत ज्यादा हेल्प मिला है इससे. एंड आई जस्ट स्पीक कि ये वाला जो एक पहले जो बिलीव होता था कि वी कुड नॉट क्रैक दिस कैट, कि बहुत ऐसा डरावना सा लगता था, टू नाउ आई हैव कम टू अ पॉइंट, ओके आई नो दैट आई कैन क्रैक दिस एग्जाम. ओनली थिंग है मेरे को बस जो बताते हैं सर लोग माइंडवर्क्स में वो कुछ फॉलो करना. अगर हम वो नहीं कर पाते हैं, वो वैक्यूम रह जाता है, तो मेरी गलती है. Other than that, everything else is taken care of, sir. So yeah, sir, this is what I was trying to say.
Thanks a lot, Nitin. Thanks a lot, Nitin.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that. It was completely spontaneous. I'm unmuting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. And so one more thing, sir. आपका जो personal guidance है ना, वो तो sir, I mean, it's out of the world. I mean,
तुम ये बोल रहे हो मैंने तुमको इतना डाटा है नितिन?
No, sir. वो तो sir, but after obviously I was not doing the do part, right? फिर आपने मेरे को बहुत डाटा, हाँ आपने अच्छा वो इसको लेके आया. आपने मेरे को, मैं पहले बता दूं, it's not like कि आप कुछ भी सर से बात कर सकते हो. सर like you can obviously talk about everything, but सर कभी कभी सर थोड़ा सा हार्श हो जाते हैं, बट वो इसलिए हो जाते हैं क्योंकि हम अपना काम नहीं कर रहे होते और फिर आगे का सर से प्लान करते हैं.
बॉटम लाइन, इफ यू आर नॉट वर्किंग, देखो मेरा एक लिमिट है. आई कैन नॉट डू द वर्क फॉर यू. तो अगर कोई काम कर रहा है तो दैट फॉर दैट गाय आई कैन गिव एनीथिंग. बट इफ अ स्टूडेंट इज नॉट वर्किंग, तो फॉर दैट स्टूडेंट माय फर्स्ट जॉब इज कि बेटा काम तो स्टार्ट करो तुम.
And I'll tell you, sir, one more thing I wanted to say कि I'm someone who has पूरे इंटरनेट की दुनिया में मैं इधर से उधर भागा हूँ, like all the Facebook groups and everything and what not, मतलब and मैंने सब कुछ implement किया है. So I can vouch कि if anyone is coming to Mindworks, और सबसे बेस्ट थिंग तुम्हारे कैट प्रेप के लिए ये हो सकता है कि तुम पहले शॉट पे Mindworks पकड़ लिए. अब हम लोग तो थोड़ा सा मतलब we tried a lot of things and then I chanced upon my Mindworks actually. So थोड़ा सा हमें देर, जो चीज हम पहले इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते थे वो हमें देर में कर रहे हैं, बट सर ने जैसे कहा ठीक है हम टारगेट पे पहुंच ही जाएंगे. दिल्ली से लखनऊ वाला जो एग्जांपल सर ने दिया था. So but I'll say कि if someone, the best thing that can happen to a student as an as aspirant cat वाला is कि वो फर्स्ट शॉट में वो Mindworks के साथ जुड़ जाए. तो I mean it is very best thing है मेरे हिसाब से.
Right.
And सर आपका पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस जो मिलता है वो तो सर I don't think anyone can, क्योंकि so कैसे बताऊं सर, क्योंकि इतना स्पॉन्टेनियस था तो मैंने.
चलो ठीक है
सर आपने अलाउ कर दिया.
थैंक यू
सर, थैंक्स अ लॉट.
so much. Nitin, I'm muting you back. A lot of other
Thank
questions. Chalo, as I said, Siddesh, that's up to you. We leave that question to you. Siddesh is asking, do you recommend Mindworks book or open market books? So I'm open to both. Open market books, I told you the advantages of both, so you can decide what you want. Open market books, obviously latest revisions aate rehte hain uske. And Mindworks books you can definitely take if you want more convenient modules. And of course, जो content नहीं रहता है Mindworks books में, वो जो latest content मेरा content है, वो we keep putting in the form of PDFs etc. Because when I build content for or institute for McGraw-Hill, obviously first tried it for Mindworks, so it's also available to my students. You will get my number if you want to talk to me, at least for this group. I can share my number. This is my number. You want to talk to me, just leave a missed call. I'll just consider all of you my students and I'll call you back. This is my number. You can call me back. You can just leave a missed call. Don't bother about time. रात को 3 बजे भी मेरा फोन साइलेंट रहता है, so रात को 3 बजे भी तुम मिस कॉल दे सकते हो. So I look at all my missed calls and call people back. ठीक है. And but as I said, डांट भी पड़ेगी मेरे से अगर काम नहीं कर रहे हो तो. Because देखो, as a teacher मेरा लिमिट है. I can only go to a certain point, and that point limit is कि I can just direct. The walking has to be done by you. The path has to be traversed by you, not by me. ठीक है. Yeah, BA students can do MBA. A lot of BA students do MBA. Reading speed के लिए देखो, as I told you, if you start understanding longer sentences, it's not about speed, it's about understanding. When you talk about language, understanding is the number one priority, not speed. So even if you can read 200 words per minute, you are good enough for CAT. तो speed पे बहुत ज़्यादा काम मत करो. 100% अंडरस्टैंडिंग होता है कि नहीं, वो उस पर काम करो. बिकॉज कैट में अल्टीमेटली 600 वर्ड के पैसेज आते हैं. If somebody tells you कि I'll make your reading speed 800 words per minute, लोग बोलते हैं, टीचर्स भी बोलते हैं इसको. जैसे नितिन ने बोला ना, बहुत भटक रहे हैं लोग. वो भटकते हैं लोग बिकॉज you don't know which teacher is what and what his depth is. So if you're reading 800 words per minute, तो कोई बोलेगा टीचर तुमको कि 800 words per minute रीडिंग स्पीड कर लेना, तो उसे एक काउंटर क्वेश्चन पूछ लेना कि 1 मिनट में पैसेज सॉल्व करूंगा एग्जाम में. मतलब this is a documented fact, you can openly check it, and this is also a documented fact. कोई भी रीडिंग स्पीड की बात करता है तो 500 के नीचे तो बोलेगा नहीं. तो क्या आरसी 1 मिनट में होना चाहिए? That's 9, sorry. This is 9, Mansi. 84002900. तो आरसी 1 मिनट में होगा. 6 आरसी आएंगे कैट में, 6 मिनट में खत्म कर दो. क्वेश्चन के लिए 1 मिनट और रख लो. 1 मिनट पढ़ना, 1 मिनट क्वेश्चन, 12 मिनट में आरसी खत्म कर दो. उसके बाद आधा घंटा सो जाओ. फिर 15-20 मिनट ड्राइव बचे रहेंगे, वर्बल कर लो. Then go into your DI. Does it work that way? It doesn't. Right? You normally solve a passage. Your normal reading time in a passage should be around 6 to 8 minutes, which means 100 words per minute is enough. So don't go on that direction of reading speed at all. ठीक है? Okay. Chalo, we have had a long session. It was supposed to be a 1 hour session only. Thanks for staying back, all of you. And बीटेक फाइनल ईयर हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. गैप ईयर को एक्सप्लेन किया जा सकता है, दीपक. Don't worry about people telling you कि gap year. A lot of people get in with gap years. Yes, Divya, it will help you. You are in family business of portfolio management with marketing and advisory. That will add to your work experience. ठीक है? I've talked about it very briefly. Maybe we'll do another seminar for VRC. तो देखो, अगर एक साल तुम बिताने वाले हो CAT 20, तुम Anirudh has the same question कि you are a 20 graduate and preparing for CAT 21, so you'll enter a B school in June 22. तो they are definitely going to ask you कि क्या कर रहे थे यहाँ पे, काम नहीं कर रहे थे तो टाइम कैसे बिताते थे, because they are very interested in what you do, what kind of person you are. So if you fill this with positive experiences, positive learning experiences, this time, if you fill with positive learning experiences, so you can actually justify anything. मेरा एक दोस्त था, वो आईआईटी का पास आउट था, वो है मतलब he now stays in the Cayman Islands, he's that successful. वो आईआईटी से पास आउट करके 3 साल 6 महीना काम किया उसने इंडियन रेलवेज में, उसके बाद he took a break and stopped working, और 3 साल कुछ नहीं किया उसने. He did not do anything for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, when he was asked by the interviewer what were you doing, his answer in the interview, literally this was his answer, I was roaming. What he did in those 3 years, he was in the Himalayas. He went to the Himalayas, और वहां पे वो 3 साल बिताया. Completely maverick guy. ठीक है? तो इंटरव्यू में जब उससे पूछा गया क्या कर रहे थे, तो his answer was I was trying to discover myself. And he recently shared on our WhatsApp group कि in 19 we were the 93-95 batch, and he was a very voracious reader and very deep reader. तो 93-95 बैच अभी भी वो बुक सजेशंस वो देता है हम लोग को, तो हम लोग को थोड़ा सोचना पड़ता है इवन एट दिस लेवल कि वो उसका बुक पढ़ना चाहिए कि नहीं, समझ में आएगा कि नहीं. इज दैट लेवल. सो इन 1992 he said that he read 95 books. That means one book every 3 days he was consuming. और वो चेतन भगत वाले बुक्स नहीं थे. As I told you, उसका बुक सजेशन जब आता है तो मेरे को सोचना पड़ता है कि should I read or not, मेरे को समझ में आएगा कि नहीं, at my level of understanding. So that was his level. So this is enough to this small skit of conversation is enough to justify. So you have to remember that this year has to be a year of discovery for yourself, a year of discovery and a year of self-development. So as far as you're on that path and you can justify what you did to yourself, तो अपने आप को जब मिरर में देखो तो तुमको खुद को दिखना चाहिए. You should be proud of yourself, what you are doing last week. As far as that is happening, you can justify to any interviewer. And I have sat in IIM interviews, I've sat in top B school interviews as an interviewer, so I can tell you this from that side also. ठीक है, चलो. Thank you so much, everybody. Ria, yes, you have chances. You have chances. You can definitely do it. So many people working do it. As I said, if you're working, your time logic will be maybe 30 hours per week. जो नहीं वर्क कर रहा है वो 50 घंटे पर वर्क करता है. तो 100 किलोमीटर पर आवर वाले भी दिल्ली से लखनऊ पहुंच जाता है और 50 किलोमीटर पर आवर भी पहुंच जाता है. What is important is he needs to be consistent for a little longer. ठीक है. MBA and IT is okay. मतलब वो तुम किस चीज में MBA करना है वो तुम बाद में डिसाइड करते हो. Get to a good college. ठीक है. 60% graduation, if you do well in your MBA, it will not matter. It will matter if you've got 60% graduation. It will matter at your entry point a little bit, but then you can explain it away in the interview. Darshan, what is the question? Last question I'm taking. Darshan says my question wasn't answered. Yeah, you can just call me for that. We'll give you that. देखो जो हो गया. द्रव्य 68% in 12th, क्या करोगे अब उसका? You can't change it. What you focus on, what is in your hand. Whatever has happened, you live with it and focus on what is in your hand. Yeah, we have a complete interview guidance model. ठीक है, चलो. And as Nitin was saying, one of the things that we do, it's not about random teaching. So when we look at a topic and you have my videos for it, you have 3 more teachers teaching that topic to you. We are actually quite coordinated. We know each other pretty well. We know what who's teaching. We're even trying to now coordinate that the same question should not be taught by multiple teachers. So what this teacher is teaching might be different from what this teacher is teaching. So it's actually designed in that fashion. It is not that I'm also telling you that profit is revenue minus cost, और दूसरा टीचर भी वही आके तुमको बता रहा है. It's not like that. ठीक है ना? So that's the advantage you'll get here. And yes, we have a complete program for other exams also. GMAT, we have a separate add-on program which we are planning to start offering to our students. But अभी उसमें बहुत content नहीं, but we'll be populating the content in the next 6 months. So if you're interested in GMAT and want to take it over after 6 months later, then Mindworks, you can take the CAT plus GMAT program. You can ask the counselors who will call you for that later. So chalo, I'll stop here. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being with all of you, and I hope you can make this this session a very valuable session. This year, a very valuable year for yourself. Make it a year which you remember. So as last parting comment, when I look back at my past, I can before 95, by the time I was 23, 24 years old, if I look back at my life, there were just 2 or 3 years which I was very proud of, and the remaining 20 years was completely flat. But if I look at my last 15 years, I'm proud of every year I've lived. So that's the difference between maxing yourself and between being an accidental achiever, right? So make sure that what you do in 2020 and 21, you're proud of that when you look back 5 years later. If you keep control of that, everything will fall into place for you. Nobody can stop you, right? Chalo, with that comment, I'll stop. Thank you so much. Bye bye.